Welcome to this webinar on unifying and orchestrating your CyberArk estate at scale. Before we start, I would like to know if you can all hear me clearly. So just let me know in the chat so I can, it's at the bottom of the screen, if you can hear me. All good. Okay, thank you so much. So that's great. My name is Paul Baas. I'm the head of sales here at Ignimission, and I'm joined today by Olivier and Arthur. Olivier is a co-founder and COO, and Arthur is one of our project managers and one of our CyberArk experts. So some housekeeping points. Microphones have been muted, but you can ask your questions in the question tab at the bottom of the screen, and me and my colleagues will try to answer at the end of the event. Also note that the webinar is being recorded and you will receive a replay after the event. So today we're going to look into how organizations can unify their CyberArk estate at scale, orchestrate the identity lifecycle, and always be audit ready. A few words on Ignimission for those who don't know the company or our solutions. So Ignimission is a software company and a long-term CyberArk and Palo Alto Alliance partner. We have a strong common customer base as we work with some of the largest CyberArk accounts and provide two offerings in the identity space. So one application is specifically focused on identity discovery, risk analysis, and remediation for the broader identity scope. So that's IGA, IAM, access management. And the second application is really focused on accelerating the success of privileged access management programs in CyberArk environments. So as a CyberArk technology partner, we've helped dozens of CyberArk enterprise customers over the years to deliver on a promise of scaling faster without having to expand your team, orchestration of the privileged access lifecycle, and also providing full visibility into your CyberArk estate. So as we will demonstrate this in a few minutes, but before showing you how this works, I would like to have a look at the privileged access lifecycle and the different activities that can be orchestrated and automated with Protec. So first, Protec will detect and discover the different assets and privileged accounts across your data sources. So this can be Active Directory, CMDB, maybe another type of database for network devices or specific files which contain important data sources. Then Protec will help establish the owner, which is useful for stakeholder dashboardings, but also for recertification purposes, which can happen later. Protec can also automatically onboard assets and accounts to your vault in a self-service way, or even fully automated from the discovery part. So this is another major use case, and it accelerates the adoption and the success of the CyberArk program. So then, as with time, accounts may run into errors, or there may be some compliance issues. Protec can also automatically detect, classify, and remediate on these compliance issues, CPM errors, etc. Next, you can run recertification campaigns, sometimes called attestation, and also, of course, automate the offboarding and decommissioning process once the privileged access is no longer required. So let's go back to the main points we'd like to discuss. Unifying CyberArk at scale, orchestrating the identity lifecycle, and always being audit ready. So what the Ignimission Protec application actually does is it federates multi-tenant CyberArk Cloud and self-hosted identity fabric into a unified governance and automation plane. So that means, as business, in terms of business outcomes, that means it diminishes threat risk, it reduces the cost outlay by eliminating labor-intensive manual tasks, and it also ensures that you are always audit ready across the enterprise. So let's have a look what this actually looks like in the solution. So when we look at the first promise, which is to unify at scale, to unify CyberArk at scale, some environments can be quite complex. So there can be multiple tenants. For example, you can have multiple vaults. Maybe some are on-prem, maybe some are cloud, maybe it's a hybrid situation. And often there's thousands and thousands of accounts to manage. In some cases, even millions. So some of our customers are in this case too. But I would say the majority of our clients manage between 10K accounts up to more than 1 million in their vaults. So as soon as you install the application, you will be able to set the connectivity to your different data sources. So the CyberArk vaults, AD, CMDB, etc. and other data sources. And Protec will start discovering the privileged accounts and assets. All of the standard dashboards that you see here will start to light up. Now, what's important to know is that you can have the view of different tenants here. So an overall single pane of glass of your different tenants. But you can also filter down on what we call business services. So business service is a specific perimeter. It can be an application, it can be a team, maybe it can be a regulatory requirement for a certain perimeter that you have to comply with. You can set these up in the solution, and that means that you can have dashboards which are across the board, or if you can filter, you can see what's actually happening within a specific scope. Or if I connect as a user who is part of SAP Finance, for example, I will only see what is happening within my perimeter. So all these examples, all these graphs and stats that we produce out of the box, they are clickable. So here I can click on the 4 accounts which had that specific issue on the missing address. There was a missing address one. Or I can I can also see here, there are 6 accounts with issues. I can click and I can immediately see those accounts. I can drill down and have a 360 view of this account and everything that's happening there. I can also see who can access to these accounts and in which ways, if it is by group or maybe a direct access. So it really gives you full visibility on everything that's going on. And for example, if I go to the safe members, I can even see all the specific permissions per safe and per member. If I go to safes, I can also drill down into the details of safe, and I can see the members that have access. But I can also, if I scroll down here, I can see, okay, is this by group or nominative access, etc. So these are all standard views. We have quite a lot of them. So here's another example, tenant users. But what you have to remember is that you can actually modify these views according to your needs. So you can filter here and create your own view. That is one way. So you can create views that you can come back to. Or you can use the studio, in the inbuilt studio, if you really want to create a personalized dashboard. Another report that I would like to show you is this business service overview. So here we have the total list of business services. This would be maybe a top management view with an overview of all the different teams and where they're at. They can see exactly the risk score, but also what are the assets that are protected, not protected, how many accounts, safes, etc. have been onboarded. So you can really track the progress of all the teams. And there is a risk score that is calculated. I will go into the details of that a little bit later because when we will speak about how Protec helps you to pass audits and be compliant. So the big takeaway from this section about providing visibility is that you will have full visibility on everything that's going on in your environment. And according to the stakeholders that connect, they can see exactly what's happening within their perimeter, the views and indicators that they need in real time. So the second part is orchestrating the privileged access lifecycle. That brings us here on the left navigation pane to the automation section. So when it comes to automating this privileged access lifecycle, most organizations will already have some automations in place. Sometimes they will have some scripts, but generally it will still require a lot of manual actions. So these are error prone, but also one of the challenges with these in-house built scripts, instead of using an industrial application, is that it's difficult to maintain. It's difficult to evolve, and sometimes only one or two people really know how it works. So as the business logic is hidden in hundreds of lines of code, it can become difficult to control and to audit. So let's see what a more industrial automation could look like. In the automation section, I have the boarding order requests. These are actually workflows that you can start, run from the dashboard, or that can be run automatically through the API. So I'm going to start an example workflow here. I'm going to use a workflow that I've configured with, which is an Airbag-based onboarding workflow. And now that I've selected this workflow, I can add the products that I want to onboard. So I do this here, and you can see that it's a matter of filling out a few attributes. This is in self-service mode, so this allows you to delegate to people to anybody basically who doesn't know all the technical details about CyberArk and maybe doesn't know safe names or all these things. But you can also delegate it to the API, because as soon as you create a workflow, the API is also available. So I'm going to fill out these attributes that are asked as input for the workflow. I'm going to select a pre-prod environment. My application will be yellow. I select a region. I can select a technology. And here, this is an example to show that you can actually create sub-workflows based on the variables that are chosen, or the attributes that are chosen. So I'm going to select complete. And I'm going to validate. Oh, I actually validated twice. So we have the request here. And now we can see everything that is going to be launched after just filling out in 10 seconds these few attributes. So in this case, it will launch 15 actions. It will create a save. It will respect the naming convention based on the elements that were the choices of the end user. It will create the groups according to your Airbag model. It will create the safe members, and all the time respecting your standards. In the workflow, you can define the order, so you can have actions that run simultaneously or that need the previous action to be completed in order to go to the next step. So that gives you really a good overview on how this automation can be set up without code. In the workflow, there's also the possibility to have approval steps. Sometimes you want to automate things fully. Maybe in the beginning, you want to have an approval step to make sure that everything is really going as according to your plan, that your workflow is functioning well. So you can build in these approval steps, whether it's launched from the API or whether it's launched from a form, as I've shown you. And these workflows are actually easy to set up. So if I go to the boarding order flows here, I can go to configure my flows. And here I can take the same workflow, for example, the onboarding, the Airbag onboarding. What does it take to set up this onboarding workflow? So the first thing is you need some attributes. So you can set up attributes. They can be drop-down lists. They can be dynamic lists taken from another place. And you may also need a short string that will be used according to the attributes in the naming convention. Then you can set up your scenarios. So in this case, there are two scenarios, the simple and complete one. So it's just to show that you can actually create sub-workflows. The simple one has 9 actions, and the more complete one has 15. And for each action that I've set up, you can see exactly what is going to happen, how we set it up. There's connection here to AD, etc. So what this means is these workflows, they are extremely efficient. You only need a few inputs, and the onboarding is taken into account across the board. So it can connect to CyberArk, AD. Maybe you want a role to be fulfilled in an IGA. Any system that we can connect through by API can be included as an action in these workflows. Now, if I go to the assets from the discovery, in order to launch automated workflows in order to basically run the workflows for automated onboarding, we can calculate as soon as Protec discovers different assets in the data sources. So it will calculate an asset lifecycle status. So, for example, missing in Vault, that means I will launch the automated onboarding scenario, or it can be existent in Vault, not in sources. I will run automatically the offboarding scenario. So that's how that integration with the data sources actually works and launches the automations that you have set up. So what this means is that you can have massive onboarding. Some of our customers are onboarding thousands and thousands of accounts or assets on a daily basis. You will have no more errors. You will have full visibility on everything that has been, all the actions that have been taken and the status of these onboarding. You will also have a complete audit trail and no more manual interventions. So the application works 24/7, and it basically remediates any errors or compliance issues. I will, by the way, also show more specifically something about remediation. So in the automation, in the automation section, we have the workflows, boarding order requests, we call them, but we also have remediation plans. Here I have the section with my remediation plan. Now, what is a remediation plan? Remediation plan is a workflow, any type of workflow that can be applied to a specific scope in your environment. So, for example, if I take this one, this is a remediation plan on external asset onboarding. I can see here that it will launch a workflow that's called external assets onboarding. And as a scope, it will launch this workflow for all the assets with status missing in Vault. So that's how you set up the remediation plan. And then all you have to do is schedule and say, okay, I want to run this every day, every week, every month, and the onboarding is automated. But remediation can be used for many use cases. For example, here I have a workflow, remove inactive users. The scope is all my CyberArk users where the last logon was greater than 1 year ago. And I can run that also, let's say weekly or daily, in order to clean up the environment. A very widely used use case for the remediation plans are CPM errors, so accounts that are running into errors. So what Protec does is it collects the data from all these different errors, and it classifies them according to error families so that you can automatically launch the appropriate remediation workflow that goes with it. So here we have the example of an error family type called timeout. The scope is, without surprise, subtype equals timeout. And I can run again I can run this on a scheduled basis. And so I can make sure that you can remediate actually on any compliance issues or any CPM error issues or anything that you want to automate as a recurring task, basically. Remediation plans save our customers a lot of time. Why is it important? It's the time savings, but also it reduces the errors, it makes you more compliant, and it runs 24/7. Even if your team is not there, the remediation plans can run. So this works across CyberArk vaults, but also, again, the whole ecosystem. And we have plenty of connectors like AD, different IGA systems, ITSM, CMDB in a marketplace, and you can build your own connectors with our connector builder. The third part of this demo I wanted to go into is always be audit ready. So instead of taking weeks to prepare the right documents and reports, when you're using Protec, you're always ready for any kind of questions from auditors on your PAM estate. And a good way to demonstrate this is the business service overview, which I showed you earlier, where we have a risk score that is calculated per perimeter. So here the perimeter is SAP Finance application, and the risk score is critical. I can click on that critical risk score, and I can see the actual indicators that this is based on. So they're key risk indicators, but actually these are your compliance controls. So if I want to know what are the accounts without automatic change rotation, I can go into the details and I can immediately have that 360 view if I click through of those accounts, and I can resolve the issues either manually or by automated remediation. I have a workflow prepared for that. So these controls give a score. They are not limited. There's quite a big list here, but you can actually build your own controls if you like. You can configure a weight for them so that the score in the overall dashboard reflects your priorities. And then it can aggregate into a larger global dashboard, for example, which we call the risk score dashboards. It's not completely filled out here for all the sections, but what these categories are actually, they're actually adaptations to your risk framework or compliance framework. So you can have SOX or NIST or whatever. You drag the indicators that apply to that regulatory framework in these categories, and then you can have the overview of compliance per business service or over your whole scope. Here I have an example of a risk framework based on CIA. So I can see that there is a critical risk for a high impact business service. And if I click here, I can immediately see where that comes from. It's the Linux team, and I can go into the detail. And I can click on the details as I like. So so there you can see what. So the thing is, this is what you can show to your auditors. You can. You don't have to specifically prepare. You can even. We have a lot of customers. They give their auditors access to Protec, so they can for themselves see what's happening on the fly. So there's no need to specifically prepare for the audits. They can see what's happening in real times, and they can see your controls, your indicators, and also how you are improving. So what I've shown so far is really how you can use Protec to unify CyberArk at scale, to orchestrate the identity lifecycle, and to always be audit ready. Before we go into the questions, I would like to make clear that this is just this is not a full demo, but it's more a flavor of the Protec capabilities. It does give you a first flavor of the solution. So if you feel that these types of governance and automation functionalities might benefit your CyberArk program, you can send me an email at the address on your screen, paul.baas@ignimission.com. And, we can always go a little bit deeper and look at your specific use cases. So we will now go to see if there's been some questions in the chat and answer them with you and with Olivier and with Arthur. So do we have any questions? I see 2 questions. Maybe in the chat there are more questions. No? Okay. So I see 2 questions, like the first one. What KPIs or measurable outcomes have you seen with customers? It's a good question, Alex. I can say there are probably 3 areas where our customers see the most benefit and which they have tracked. So first is really about cost and about efficiency. Some of our customers report, for example, 45% reduction in onboarding cost, and some customers actually save hundreds of thousands of euros every year just by automating the onboarding and offboarding and reducing all the errors related to that. So one example is one of our transportation customers who save around 800K annually just by automating on and offboarding and reducing the errors related to that process. The second part in terms of ROI, I would say, is probably the speed of adoption. So since you can automate things, the onboarding, for example, can be 8-9 times faster. And this accelerates the whole process of adoption across the organization. And it also allows you to do much more with a small team. So we have some customers where they have 5 or less people managing the run and managing hundreds of thousands of accounts. So it depends on the organization, of course, but this can be some of the results. And the third is really, I would say, compliance and audit readiness. So increase in the data quality. We have reports about, I think one customer reported 85% improvement in data quality, sometimes very high compliance levels, like top 90s of compliance levels. So these are some of the results that the solution provides that we have tracked. And so it creates an enormous ROI, especially having the capability to do a lot more without having to expand your team. So it looks like we are at the end of the questions. So we have come to the end of the webinar. I would like to thank you all for participating, and I really look forward to hearing from you by email or meeting you in real time, maybe in Austin at the CyberArk Palo Alto Impact event. We're looking forward to meeting you all there. And if you have any questions you want to go deeper, you can always reach out by email. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.